Hi children, today I am going to start civics lesson, that is the making of Constitution for Independent India. Making of Independent India's Constitution. Now first let us see what is a Constitution. As you know, Constitution is a set of rules and regulations, and the Constitution of any country provides a basic structure and principles according to which the government is formed and according to which the government functions also. According to the Constitution only the government is formed and also the government functions according to the Constitution. So, the making of Constitution serves two purposes mainly. The first one is it lays down the role and rights of the citizens and formation and functions of the government also. That means in the Constitution, the rights of citizens are laid down, rights and duties of the citizens are laid down, and also the process of formation and functions of government also are laid down in the Constitution. And also not only this, the functions of the organs of the government also. What are the organs of the government? Legislature, executive and judiciary. These are the three organs of central government and as well as state government also. Same organs, legislature, executive and judiciary, these are the three main organs of the government at central level and state level also. It also speaks of the nature of the future society to be built with combined efforts of the state and the society. For example, in Nepal, making of constitution was started in 2007. Because in 2007, monarchy was abolished in Nepal and democracy was established, so they started preparing their constitution. But it was not completed till 2014. This I am citing as an example to tell you how Herculean task it is to prepare a constitution for the country, because it needs more discussions, more debates on several issues. And the reason for this was many political parties in Nepal could not come to an agreement regarding many issues. On many issues, the political parties in Nepal could not come to a common agreement. So, the preparation of constitution was much delayed in Nepal. It was started in 2007, but it could not be completed till 2014. And thus, the process of making a constitution for a country is not an easy task. It needs debates, discussions on many issues to work out a framework which is acceptable to all the parties or all the people. Now, in this lesson, we are going to see through what stages the making of constitution in India passed. Now, first let us see the background of Nepal. We are taking the example of Nepal here. First elections in Nepal were held in 1959, but within a year, the elected government was overthrown and monarchy was established again. And people continued their struggle for establishing democracy, because democracy is the best form of government. People again continued their struggle for establishing democracy in Nepal. And as a result of this, again in 1991 elections were held in Nepal. And in these elections, the Congress party came to power. But king had a dominant position still. Though the Congress party formed the government in Nepal, on one side there was domination of king also, side by side, just like in England now. It was not liked by the Communist Party. The domination of king or monarchy was not liked by the Communist Party in Nepal. So the Communist Party demanded that monarchy should be abolished in Nepal. And finally, monarchy was abolished in 2007 in Nepal. That is the background of Nepal. And when monarchy was abolished in 2007 and democracy was established, they started preparing their constitution. But it was not completed till 2014, because many of the parties in Nepal could not come to an agreement on many of the issues in the constitution. Now, the making of Indian constitution. Now, let us see step by step how our constitution was prepared. Our constitution was prepared by the Constituent Assembly. When the Britishers left India, giving freedom to India, we needed a constitution to rule ourselves. By the time we got independence, we were following the constitution which was prepared by the Britishers. But now, because we got freedom from the Britishers, we needed a constitution to be prepared by ourselves, which will be suitable to our country, to the people. So, now let us see how it was prepared. As a first step, the Constituent Assembly was set up in 1946. In 1946, the Constituent Assembly was set up, and the members of this Constituent Assembly were elected indirectly by the members of provincial assemblies. From provinces, 292 members were elected indirectly, and from princely states, 93 members were nominated. So, and 4 members were elected from Delhi, Ajmer, Mewar, Coorg, and British Baluchistan. And total comes to 389 members. So, 389 members were there in the Constituent Assembly. And out of these, 26 members represented scheduled castes. And 9 women members were there in the Constituent Assembly. Women representation was 9 and scheduled caste representation was 26. And after partition of the country, because the country got partitioned into Pakistan and India, there were 299 members in Indian Constituent Assembly and 86 members were there in Pakistan Constituent Assembly. And members of the Constituent Assembly were not elected directly through universal adult franchise. I hope many of you know what is universal adult franchise. If the right to vote is given to all the people uniformly, all those who are above 18 years of age, if they are given right to vote, that is called as universal adult franchise. But the elections to this Constituent Assembly were not held according to the universal adult franchise. So, it did not represent all the sections of the society. If it is universal adult franchise, all the people will take part in the elections and they can elect their own representatives, so that there will be representation from all the sections of the society. But since the elections to Constituent Assembly were not held directly through universal adult franchise, it did not represent all the sections of the society. Only 10% of the population were given the right to vote. Only 10% of the population could vote in the provincial elections. And members from princely states were decided through consultation. That is to say that they were nominated by consulting the native kings or the native princes. The members from princely states were decided. And that was because of the tense situation prevailing at that time. Because at that time, when we got freedom, all these princely states were to be integrated into Indian Union. We already learnt about it, integration of princely states. Sardar Patel was given the responsibility of integration of princely states. So all these princely states, did not agree to join the Indian Union. Do you remember? Except 3 states, Junagadh, Hyderabad, except these, all the other states they joined. That means all the princely states, they did not agree to join the Indian Union. And many of them wanted to remain independent. So there was a lot of tension. Children, see in this picture, first one, equality is provided to all the 3 children by making them stand at equal heights. Now you can see. Providing equality, is it enough? Are they getting justice? No. You can see the other picture, where justice is provided to all the 3 children with the same benches. But here the same 3 benches are used in the second picture also, but here justice is provided. In the first picture, all the 3 are standing at equal heights, so that is equality. So providing equality is not enough. We have to provide justice also to the people, equal justice also to the people. That is indicated in these 2 pictures. And it did not provide justice to all, as the shortest one could not watch the match in the first picture. And in the second picture, justice is provided. Now even the shortest one could watch the match. That means not only equality, but justice also should be provided to the people. Though all the sections of the society were not represented in the Constituent Assembly, opinions of all the people through letters writing in the newspapers were invited by the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly invited letters and their suggestions also through newspapers and letters also, so that they can make any changes in the draft constitution according to the suggestions made by the people. And Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of this Constituent Assembly. Now, drafting committee. This drafting committee was set up with B.R. Ambedkar as its chairman to prepare the final draft of the constitution. The draft constitution was finally adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949 and it came into force on 26th January 1950. And this day is celebrated as Republic Day in India every year to mark the implementation of the new constitution prepared by ourselves. And when the drafting committee was formed, the drafting committee appointed various committees like Union Powers Committee, the Union Constitution Committee, the Provincial Constitution Committee, and the Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Advisory Committee on Minorities, Advisory Committee on Tribal Areas. All these committees were formed by the drafting committee. And they were asked to give their suggestions, their reports regarding preparation of the constitution. And all these committees, they submitted their reports to the drafting committee. And the members of this drafting committee, they studied the constitutions of all the countries, all the other countries which were independent by that time and which had their own constitutions. The members of this drafting committee, they studied the constitutions of all the other countries and whichever feature was good for our constitution to be followed, they derived that feature from that constitution. And the Constituent Assembly also directed that in certain matters the provisions of the Government of India Act 1935 should be followed. Most of the features of Government of India Act 1935, it was passed by the British government. But many of the features of this act were taken into our constitution. Now next one is the draft constitution contains 315 articles and 8 schedules. When the draft constitution was ready, it contained 315 articles and 8 schedules. And our constitution was the bulkiest constitution in the world. No other constitution was so bulky as ours. And the draft constitution was put before the public, before the people for 8 months. It was put before the people so that all the people can go through it and also they can send their suggestions if any critics, friends or adversaries, all these people, they had to send their own suggestions on the constitution to express their reactions to the provisions contained in the constitution. This draft constitution was put before the public, before the people for 8 months and all the people, many friends, many critics and adversaries, they sent their suggestions and their opinions also regarding the draft constitution. Now, features of Indian constitution borrowed from other countries. As I told you, the members of the Constituent Assembly, they studied the constitutions of all the other countries and they derived many features from other countries. Now let us see what are the features derived from other countries. For example, from Britain, we derived parliamentary system, rule of law, single citizenship, bicameralism. And from Ireland, we derived directive principles of state policy, nomination of members to Rajya Sabha, and method of president's election. And from Russia, we derived fundamental duties. From Germany, we derived the method of suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. Whenever there is emergency declared, in India, fundamental rights are suspended temporarily, and that we derived from Germany. And South Africa, amendment of the constitution we derived. procedure of amendment of the constitution, and also election of members to Rajya Sabha. And from USA, we derived impeachment of the president, functions of president and vice president, judicial review, removal of judges of high courts and Supreme Court, preamble means it is the introduction to the constitution, independence of judiciary. These features we derived from USA. Canada, federation with strong center, residual powers with the center. These two features we derived from Canada. Australia, concurrent list, joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament. These two features are derived from Australia. And from France, ideas of liberty, equality and fraternity. And also idea of republic is derived from France. Now, parliamentary system. What is this parliamentary system? In India, we have parliamentary system. If Union Council of Ministers along with the Prime Minister are made responsible to the Parliament, it is called parliamentary system. That means Parliament is the supreme power. The Council of Ministers and their leader, Prime Minister, are made responsible and answerable to the Parliament. And these Council of Ministers or the Prime Minister, they can be in power, they can continue in power as long as they win the confidence of the Parliament. That means the supreme power is in the hands of the Parliament. Such a government is called parliamentary system. That means the Union Council of Ministers are answerable to the Parliament. And as long as they win the confidence of the Parliament, they can be in power. And in USA, there is presidential system. We have parliamentary system and of democracy, and they have presidential system of democracy. Now, let us see some of the differences between these two systems. Under presidential system, which is prevalent in USA, the president is the chief head of the executive. He is the real head of the executive. But in parliamentary system, the president is only nominal head of the executive. The real head is prime minister, and the president is nominal head of the executive. And under presidential system, the administration is vested in him. All the administrative powers are given to the president under presidential system. And under parliamentary system, he is the head of the state but not of the executive. He represents the nations wherever he goes. If he goes to foreign countries, he represents the nation, but he does not rule the nation. Who rules the nation? The prime minister. And thirdly, the president has under him secretaries in charge of different departments. In USA, there are secretaries under the president who are in charge of different departments. Like in India, under parliamentary system, we have ministers in charge of different departments of administration. That means we call them as portfolios also. For each portfolio, one minister will be there, and all these ministers work under the president. So the president has under him ministers in charge of different departments of administration. And in USA, the president is not bound to follow any advice by any of his secretaries. The secretaries cannot give him any advice. Even if they give, he is not bound to follow the advice of the secretaries. But in India, under parliamentary system, the president is bound to follow the advice of the ministers of the Union Council of Ministers. For each and everything, he has to take the advice of the Union Council of Ministers. He cannot do anything on his own. And lastly, under presidential system, the president can dismiss any of the secretaries who are under him at any time. For any reason, he can dismiss him. But under parliamentary system, the president has no power to remove any minister so long as they command majority in the parliament. These are the few differences between the presidential system and the parliamentary system. Now, next one is federalism. First, let us see what are the types of constitutions. There are two types of constitutions, unitary constitution and federal constitution. Unitary constitution refers to the supremacy of the central government and absence of subsidiary sovereign polities. Polity means system of government. If there is only central government and there are no subsidiary systems of government, that is state governments, all the powers will be in the hands of the central government. That is supremacy of the central government, and such a constitution is called unitary constitution. And federal constitution means there will be central government and state governments also side by side, and both are independent and sovereign in their own field. That means powers are given to the central government and also to the state government. powers are divided between the central and the state governments. So this is called as federal constitution. Central government at central level and state governments at state level, they are independent. In simple words, if powers are distributed between the central and the state governments, it is federal constitution, and it is also called as dual polity. Dual polity means dual system of government. Dual system is both central government and state government will exist. And this dual polity in India resembles the American Constitution. Now let us see how. In America, federal government, what we call in India as central government, they call it as federal government. Remember it. In America, federal government and state government, what we call central government in India, it is federal government in America. And there is one similarity between this Indian and American dual polity. Both have dual polity. In America also there is dual polity. That means central government and state governments are there. What is central government called in America? It is federal government. In India also there is dual polity. That means central government and state governments are there. Now let us see the similarity between these two. Under the American Constitution, the federal government is not a mere league of the states, nor are the states administrative units or agencies of the federal government. That means in America, under federalism, that means there is federal government, dual polity. But the federal government is not a combination of all the state governments. And even the state governments are not the agencies of the federal government. That means the federal government does not work through state governments like agencies. They are independent and federal government is independent. So the federal government is not a mere league of the states, nor the states are administrative units or agencies of the federal government. In the same way, in India also, we have the same procedure. We have central government at central level and state governments at state level. And the central government is not a combination of all the state governments together. Central government is separate. State governments are separate. And they are given their own powers in their fields. And also the state governments are not agencies of the central government. That means the central government does not work through state governments like agencies. So this is the only similarity between the two dual polities, American dual polity and Indian dual polity. Now, let us see. In Indian Constitution, there is dual polity. Now we learned it. There is single citizenship in India. I hope you know what is single citizenship. There is only one citizenship for the whole of India. That means in India, we the people belong to India. We are the citizens of India only. We don't have state citizenship in India. But in countries like USA and Switzerland, there is state citizenship also. If people are living in a particular state, for example in USA, if they are living in Texas state, they are the citizens of Texas and they are also the citizens of USA, America as a whole. So they have double citizenship. That is called dual citizenship. So in countries like USA and Switzerland, there is dual citizenship, and in India it is single citizenship. Now there is another special feature of Indian Federation which makes it different from other federations. What is this special feature? There are three organs of the government at central and state level also. All these three organs are given separate powers both at central and state level also. And because of this, there may be diversity, means differences in laws made by the government. Laws are made both by the central government and all the state governments also make laws for their own states. And also in judicial protection also there may be differences. In administration also there may be differences. And all the state governments can make laws, central government also can make laws. So there will be diversity in laws. And up to certain extent it does not matter. We can take it as an attempt to accommodate the powers of the government to local needs. That means government has to exercise its powers to meet the local needs, to meet the local circumstances, to suit the local circumstances. So the government makes certain laws. But this diversity in laws, when it is beyond the limit, it creates problems for the people. Suppose there are 25 states in a country, or in our country there are 25 states. A person who moves from state to state in course of his employment or business, he has to face 25 different laws. There is possibility of 25 different laws on the same subject. Because there are 25 states, all the state governments, they are given power to make laws on the subjects which are included in the state list. So all the 25 governments can make laws. So if people move from one state to another state, they have to face 25 different laws. And these laws may be regarding marriage and divorce or property or weights and measures, etc. On these subjects, the states may make different laws. And for him, what is law? For him is, for one person who moves from state to state, what is lawful in one state may not be lawful in another state. That means what is legal in one state may be illegal in another state. Then there will be a problem for the person. Our constitution has followed some means and methods to bring uniformity in all basic matters that are necessary for maintaining the unity of the country. To avoid these differences in laws made by the state governments, to avoid that problem and also to maintain the unity of the country, our constitution makers have followed some means of methods. Now let's see what are those means and methods. There are three methods which are introduced by the constitutional makers. First one is single judiciary, the second one is uniformity in fundamental laws, and third one is common all India services to important posts. I hope you understood this one. I am repeating once again because the three organs of the government, that is legislature, executive and judiciary, both at central and state level also are given separate powers. So, there is a possibility of differences in laws made by the state governments. On the same subject, it is possible that different states make different laws. And when a person or when people move from state to state in course of their employment or business, they have to face problems. On the same subject, they have to face different laws in different states. I hope you understood. Now I will conclude it here and the remaining part of the lesson will be continued in the second video.